Hello, everyone. Welcome to Off the Charts, episode 341. Who is behind that mug? that is,
Look at
that
that
is,
mug behind that mug.
yeah, that is my friend from Grab a Stack of Rock, Mike. How's it going?
Great, Dan. I'm so glad to be on your channel
Oh, I know.
for the first time.
hmm
We've been talking about doing this since the fall, since like
Yeah,
October when we
it's
were
been a
doing A Mighty
while.
Wind. Yeah,
And I'm going to say this. I'm not saying this to suck up here. Mike was nice enough to invite me on his channel, and it was an eye-opening experience. I was like, I've never been treated so well, like from somebody I knew, but I didn't know that well. And man, did I have fun on those two shows because it was different. And I'm not dissing anybody else. I've been guests on there, but yours was like this is the 5 cent version. Mike's got the $1 version of a YouTube channel. He's got
well, you're too kind. You're too kind. The true story is that we did a Spinal Tap episode that was the brainchild of Marco Doria, and he
Mhm.
said, I recommend that we get Dan Chartrand on the show. And I was like, oh, the guy from Off the Charts. And I just recently, like within the last months
He
before
said
that,
that. Okay.
subscribed to your channel. Yeah, yeah. Marco specifically said, I think Dan Chartrand would be perfect for this episode. And I was already familiar because I had, like, within months,
Yeah.
just subscribed to your channel and started watching and tried to win some records and stuff like that. So I was like, cool. And then, obviously we had a great couple of shows there. We did two in a row. The
Yeah.
Spinal Tap one spun off into the Mighty Wind one, which was just a blast. And it was like you were part of the crew immediately.
Oh, yeah, it was a great feeling there. So yeah, I'll put the two links in the bottom. Go check those episodes out too there. Go check out his
Yeah.
channels. It's actually pretty mostly he does stuff live on Friday nights
Yeah.
and then a few little here and there, but mostly your thing is on Friday nights there. But I keep telling everybody I go check out his channel. I'm like, and of course I was in you've got this sort of like lobby waiting room. So I'm waiting,
Yeah.
and who do I see? I go, see Paul Shortino singing your theme song. And I'm like, what the hell did I just sign up for? Like, I'm such a nobody, and he's got Paul Shortino singing his theme song.
Yeah. Well, that's cameo, right?
That
You
is
said,
cool. That is still cool.
but yeah, like when the show was just kind of starting out, I sent Paul Sortino $75 or whatever it was, and I
Mhm.
said, I'm Mike. Would you mind giving a shout out to my show, Grab a Stack of Rock? And he came in with his guitar playing Dreamin' Again by
Yeah,
Rough Cut
yeah,
and going, Mike, I hear you got a new show called Grab a Stack of Rock. And I was like, holy crap, I can take that image of him saying Grab a Stack of Rock and dub it over my theme video. And it looks
yeah.
like he's singing Grab a Stack of Rock
Oh
in
my
my
God,
theme video.
I was like, wow. So
That was fun. When I got that from Paul Shortino, it took him like less than a day
yeah,
to fulfill my order. And I was just like, man, I think he went above and beyond there, especially singing Dreamin' again.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that was so
That's a
cool.
good song too there. So there you go. Well, it's kind of and the reason I got Mike here is like I do love his storytelling on his channel. So I said, you know
Oh,
what? Why don't we do something like this here where it's like us telling stories of our past experience, what to do, what not to do as to so you want to become a rock star. Okay? We've all had that dream, right? Of
yeah.
wanting to be a rock star or whatever. So we're gonna share. I mean, I made myself a little list of things to talk about. Some I've talked about here on the channel before, but some that I've purposely left out. And I was like, do I even tell this story here? But you know what? Today I'm going all out. So you want to start us off here since you're our
Sure.
guest?
Well, you know what? I want to start by referring back to something that we were talking about in the pre-show chat. You were talking about making your own little cardboard instruments.
Yes.
And I think that is a common thread that before a lot of us bought our first instruments, we did air bands. So I want to start real quick. I found my 1988 high school yearbook, and there's no photos of me doing an air band here, but there is a photo of my co-host, Len LaBelle. He did an episode on Brighton Rock with me, and he is also the contributor to a massive haul of CDs that I showed off on my show last Friday night as of this recording. But found a picture of my co-host Len LaBelle in my high school yearbook doing Kiss Crazy Crazy Nights. That's Len on the lead vocals
Oh
right there in the
wow.
middle, and his younger brother is Bruce Kulick, and you can see there's another dude with an axe bass there. And I was always jealous of, look, they got the Kiss sign, look at the Kiss drums.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was always jealous. I never did an air band. I wanted to so bad. I wanted to, Dan. I just didn't have the guts to do it. And really, in all reality, I should have done it in my grade 13 back when they had such a thing, in my grade 13 year, because my buddy Andreas, they had just discovered the movie Spinal Tap. Okay.
Oh, oh, oh.
And they did a great air band to Stonehenge. And in reality, I should have, they used my tape. I was the only one at school that had the
Yeah, yeah.
album. Okay. So in reality, I should have said, listen, guys, if you're going to use my tape, I want to be on stage too. I should have, man. So I got to tell you about this. This isn't my story, but I'm relaying you some
Hey,
Grand
that's
River
fine.
Collegiate Institute history. My buddy Andreas and a couple other of my classmates got up there as Stonehenge, and one of them stole a stop sign. I'm not joking here. One of them stole an actual stop sign and turned it into a bass. So he had a stop sign bass. It's like, yeah, sure, somebody might get killed at that intersection, but now he's got a stop
Now we have a
sign
base.
bass,
Yeah.
man. And it was hilarious because that's like the kind of thing you could imagine um, Spinal Tap having. It's something
Mm.
ridiculous like a stop sign
Sure,
bass.
yeah.
So it fit the joke. But what was really cool is for the middle section where there's the Celtic ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding. One of our math teachers in our school was a mandolin player. So um, no, a banjo player. Sorry, it's mandolin in the song, but what the kids don't know the difference. So he came out in his
Exactly.
later hosen and his banjo, and he was miming ding 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 ding, and it didn't matter. You technically you had to have your own homemade cardboard instruments. Didn't matter because he was the teacher and he brought his banjo, and that was just like a meta humor, as the
Yeah,
kids would
yeah,
say
yeah,
today,
yeah, yeah.
right? So I was very much impacted by music videos. And you and I both grew up in the Much Music Pepsi Power
Mm.
Hour era. So I spent a lot of time in my bedroom practicing my moves. And if I may, I will give you my top three frontmen for my own personal frontman style. Okay. Number three,
Okay.
Ronnie James Dio.
Of course.
Ronnie James Dio, he had such a stage presence, and he didn't have to leap around the stage, but he was very mobile at the same
Mhm.
time. He didn't do the jumping and the leaping.
Mm-mm.
Um, Number two, Bruce Dickinson. He did the jumping and the leaping. He did a
Mhm.
lot of the climbing the monitors and then diving down, and incredible frontman. But my number one influence as far as my personal frontman style is Paul Stanley of Kiss. And I
Of
can
course.
distinctly remember, Dan, I can distinctly remember the impact of the Thrills in the Night music video. And there's this
Yeah.
one part in the video where Paul is on stage and he's got tassels on his pants, right? And
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
dancing and he does this kind of like spinning dance and the tassels all fly out. And I remember grabbing a hockey stick and going out in the middle of my street and practicing that damn spinny dance. I didn't have tassels, but at least I could get the moves right. And I would say I was about 80% there. And I will state for the record, just so we don't get too expectations too high for the viewers, I have never once in my life been in a band. Yes, I bought an instrument. Yes, I pretended, but Dan made it a little bit further than me. He's got like 3 albums. So that's the levels that we're at here. Dan actually made it to this level. I only ever made it to this level. So, so that's my first tale from childhood that I wanted to share.
All right. So I'll actually piggyback on yours, and I've actually added one because you just reminded me that I actually did an air band. We and I was like you. I saw so many air bands in high school because it was the thing. There was even competitions on um, local TV channels there, like Rogers, I think there.
Yeah.
But grade 13, we decided, okay, we got to do an air band. And this, it was me and my friend. So we call him, his name is Steph, but we call him Alice. So we did Alice Caron, which was his last name. I actually and I'm going to print out, or I'll photocopy. We actually went and made Alice Caron with dollar bills on a Xerox. So we did a whole, like, I think we did like eight on a 8 by 10 page, and then we photocopied them to have like a stack of dollar bills like this. So anyway, we did Schools Out. I borrowed a guitar from one of my buddies. I was actually the guitarist. I've never played the guitar in my life. My friend was the singer. We made a frisbee with Schools Out on it, which would throw. It was prop oriented, right? But the thing is, we were like, okay, we're on tomorrow. We have you and me, Steph. We have nobody else in this band. So we were actually the day of the show or the ad. You want to pretend to play drums? You want to pretend to play? So anyway, I found a guitarist. I found a girl drummer, like, which I even forget what her name is, but she was playing drums for us. Anyway, we played Schools Out. Um, and just remember the people in the front when my friend took all the dollar bills, and all he saw is a big thing of dollar bill, like a white things flying, and everybody going, "What the hell is this here?" And people were so confused about that. Anyway, it just kind of reminded me of that little. I did the airband thing. It was fun, but the preparation was tougher, or not. The end product did not reflect the production we did, if that makes any sense there. We were kind of cut off, and because it was an English song, and in French schools, playing an English song is not very well received, by the way. But anyway, we did, like I said, the frisbee. We threw that into the crowd after the dollar bills. We remember after the lunch had ended, a whole bunch of dollar bills were still on the floor. Nobody picked them up. But anyway, that was my first and only air band, and it went better and worse depending on your point of view going forward from that. So that's my little air band story that I had to add to that. So thanks for reminding me for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. I loved watching the air bands. And like you said, there
Mhm.
was a competition and it was like a prize at the end of the week for the best one.
Yeah, yeah, they
And
had
it
a
was
lot
always a
of
big
that.
deal. It was a big deal every year. Every year we look forward to air band week. It might have even been 2 weeks. I don't remember.
Because actual acts were actually rare at that time, like actual people in school playing an instrument. It was a
Correct.
rare item, not as common as it is now. Which there's a reason I'm doing this episode today. And we'll see at the end there. But yeah, it was easier to do an air band than an actual band, monetary wise, and trying to find people that actually played instruments back then. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. No,
All right,
100%. That's my experience as well.
yeah, you got another one.
Well, you know, I think for me personally, and if you've ever read any of my childhood stories, there's always one character that comes up as the most important influence. That's my best friend when I was growing up, Bob Shipper. And together, he was 2 years older than me, but we kind of were on the same path, the same
Hmm.
journey as far as music goes. It all happened at the same time, although he was in the lead. He would be like, here's this band called Iron Maiden, and then I would collect.
Yeah.
So he was always in the lead, but I was right here. So we were kind of growing at this level. And we were best buds, and we did a lot of uh, making our own cardboard instruments, and I'll send you some photos later on.
Yeah.
Um, I have some stuff here that now where did I put it? Here we go. I have some stuff here that kind of just demonstrates our friendship. But this is a postcard that he sent me from Expo 86.
Oh, I remember that.
And it was a really lonely summer for me. He went out west for the summer and I was on my own in Ontario and my best friend was gone. And it's not like today where I can just call up Dan the man in Ottawa and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
how you doing?" Back then I think I
like we're
got.
doing now. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like it's completely different. Back then, I waited all summer for I think I got two letters and one postcard. Hey, Mike, it's me, Bob, writing a postcard to you to tell you that I'm still living. I hope everything is okay over there because it's great here. I got this awesome poster of Gene Simmons you've got to see. Well, see you soon. So it's like
Nice.
that's how important music was to us. Is that, he's got this much space on the back of the postcard, but you got to tell me about this Gene Simmons poster. That's important. And I remember this trip in 86. I remember that he came home with Kiss Killers on vinyl, which was rare.
At the time,
That was rare.
it was
Yeah, at
rare on
that time.
cassette also. Like,
I'd never seen one on cassette in
yeah,
86. Coming from Kitchener, I don't know what Ottawa was like in terms of record stores back then, but in
like
Kitchener, you had like two. And if they didn't have it, then you never saw it. Okay.
exactly.
So Kiss Killers was one album that we only known one guy to get. So Bob Schipper was now the second guy. It was the German with the German logo. And so the day he came home from that trip, I like gave him like an hour to unpack or whatever. And then I raced over there and I recorded Kiss Killers off him right away. But man, like I remember how important that stuff was. He also got Kiss Alive 2 on that trip.
Okay, yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like we were both kind of collecting at the same time. So whichever one of us got the album first, the other one would be able to tape it. So Bob Schipper also had come home with this determination that he was going to be a little bit more independent after spending a summer out west away from his parents. So he's like, I'm going to buy a dog, I'm going to buy a computer, I'm going to buy a guitar. And the guitar was kind of like the other two things never happened, by the way. The guitar was kind of like the I don't want to say the fad, but like many kids, Bob Schipper, um, he went from one thing to another. Okay,
Mhm.
so after the guitar didn't really pan out for us, it became sailboarding.
Ah,
So you know what I mean? Like it was like that Bart Simpson episode. Do you remember when he's like he's got the guitar for like one day and then that was it? He had no more interest in it. That was kind of like Bob Schipper with the
or
guitar. But
the Cosby Show when Theo with the tennis racket and the guitar
right,
because he wanted to take skydiving lessons, and
right, exactly. That was Bob Schipper, and we all kind of knew it. But I followed him on this journey as well. So I'll quickly tell you the story of my first guitar, and then I'll tell you more about that kind of adventure in the next bit. But he bought one. It was black, and I do have this photo. And it's the kind of thing where the guy said, "Yeah, the guy from Helix used to own this guitar." Like, okay, whatever, sure. Of course he did. It's exactly like that scene in School of Rock when Jack Black is like, Hendrix played this guitar.
yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. You heard that from like every freaking guy selling a guitar back then. Yeah, the dude from Helix is a buddy of mine. He played this guitar. Sure, he did. Everybody knew the dude from Helix back then. You could always name drop the dude from
Yeah.
Helix. It was Brent Durner. Um, but he bought this guitar and it looked cool, man. It looked cool. And he's like, Mike, you should buy a guitar too. We could be a band. So we went to the shop in downtown Kitchener one day. I think it was on March break, but it was like a Wednesday night. And I saw this white guitar. It was just a generic brand. I couldn't even tell you the name of the brand anymore. This white guitar. And Bob's like, it's perfect. I'll have the black guitar. You have the white guitar. It's perfect. And his was kind of jagged and mine was smooth. And yeah, I bought the guitar. Much to my dad bought the guitar, I should say. My
Yeah.
dad bought the guitar. Much to my dad's annoyance, he was not impressed, but the condition was guitar lessons.
Okay.
That was the condition, and we'll pick up that chapter next.
All right. All right. Okay, so then I'm gonna go backwards a little bit here. So let's go back to sixth grade. We our school project was to make some sort of jingle. Okay, you could do whatever you want. You could just sing. You could play instruments or whatever. So we had no. We were six. No, we were in sixth grade six. So that was 11 or 12 years old. None of us had instruments at that time. So we actually built our own. And I'll remember there was a guy to my right. Remember when tobacco came in cans, those big cans? So he,
I was just telling my wife, I remember my grandfather rolling cigarettes
yeah,
in the kitchen. Yep, absolutely.
so he had those, a couple of tins. So I guess he filled some up with, I don't know if there was water or dirt, and some of them had different, when you hit them, percussion makes different noise depending how many. So we had one guy with that. We had another guy with Coke bottles, which three Coke. Remember the old before 2 liters did not exist. Remember those the glass ones,
The classic glass bottle.
and they were like kind of kind of twisty, sort of there. Anyway,
Yeah, they had that. Yeah, they were really
yeah,
you see why people collect Coke bottles.
yeah. So I guess he had three, one with. So I guess the other guy had dirt in it because this guy, remember, had water. So high water, low water, to make different sounds. I always, for some reason, wanted to be a drummer. I've never played the drums in my life, but again, more on that later. So I said to myself, well, was get those, I don't know if you remember those, schools had them a lot, which was like these white pails for paint, or they were probably like 2 feet high. Anyway, the school janitor gave me three. He goes, yeah, have fun. So I guess I got myself a drum, not thinking that one would have sufficed because they all sound the same. So, but then the kicker is my friend, who I guess his dad was a great carpenter, came back the next day with, he was the bass player. He had, I guess his dad carved out the body of a bass guitar, like the frame there, and of course the whole, like he had the whole thing. He had nails to put elastics, which were the strings, and of course, you ever pluck an elastic that's quite loose? Makes no sound, right? So that was our band, and I had the genius idea. Why don't we do Living in Sin by Gene Simmons off his solo album? We'll do that as our song. For some reason, I convinced my band or my friends will be doing that, and I'll sing it. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, oh, but wait a minute, guys. There's a scene in that song where we need the phone rings. So I don't know if you remember that scene. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna call you, and this is 83, 82. Okay, so the rotary phones there. That's how. Anyway, so I said to my friend, I'm gonna call you, and then what I'm gonna do is you call me right back. We didn't have any. There was no answering machines back then either. So I'm like, you call me. I'm gonna call you to tell me to call me right back. So okay, all right, call me now. So I hang up. Then I had my little tape recorder right beside me. So I pressed record just to hear this phone ring twice and then stop recording that. So I had the ringing part. Then we go the next day, like, all right, we got the recording part. And then we started, and I go, how did I go again? I'm the only one who knew the damn song. So these guys, I had a guy with water bottles, a guy with tobacco, different sounds, a bass player which had no sound. Anyway, and there was another one, two, three. I thought we were. I might be maybe missing a player. I thought we were. I know for sure we were four, maybe five guys. But anyway, so I'm starting to do the dun, 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 the intro to Living in Sin, but there's no cymbal, so I'm going bum 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 bum, and I go bum 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 bum, and then I was like, you know what, guys, this is terrible. This is not gonna work. And one, nobody knew the damn song, so I was like, okay. And then I got stage fright. I'm like, I can't do this. This is not gonna work, guys. So we somehow we managed to say, okay, we need to get a song. So what we decided to do was we had there was the only record store I'm from Kirkland Lake, which is up north. There was only one record store, which was called Supremes. So we decided to do Old MacDonald owned Supremes. The Old MacDonald had a farm, and very big difference between Kiss and then going from Kiss to Old MacDonald. So it's like Old MacDonald had and on that story he had a drum, E-I-E-I-O, and a boom, boom here and a boom, boom there. And of course, we did the same thing with and a bottle here and a tobacco there. I forget how the bass thing went because you couldn't hear any sound. But that actually went quite well compared to the Living in Sin. So, yeah, don't think that if you want to do a song there, like do what's easiest when you're first starting out. Don't over like I went and recorded the friggin' telephone just to get that bit, and that was the only effort we put into the song because nobody else went and listened to it. I knew it to a point. So anyway, that is our and we were actually asked to go from class to class and play our song because it was actually pretty the end product of the Old McDonald owned Supremes was actually pretty cool for a 12-year-old. I will say that. So that's my second story right there.
No shame in that. Of course not. Well, let me see. Here's okay, we'll save that. Okay. So saving that, the next thing. Um, we got lessons. We got lucky. My sister had just inherited a nice keyboard from my grandfather, and she was getting piano lessons from this guy named Gary Mertz. And Gary would come to the house. So Gary also taught guitar. So in one 90-minute session, Gary Mertz would come to the house, do my sister's keyboard lesson, do my guitar lesson, and Bob Shipper's guitar lesson. So it was easy money for him, 3 lessons, one stop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought Gary was a nice guy. I thought he was a good teacher, but Bob Shipper and I began to divert on this because he didn't want to learn how to play guitar. He wanted to learn how to play songs. So he used to complain, there's a guy downtown that if you pay him $5 on a Saturday, he'll teach you any song you want to know.
Okay.
So it's like, all right, Bob stopped going to guitar lessons, and really the truth of the matter is neither of us were interested in learning scales. We weren't interested in learning chords. We weren't interested in learning guitar. We were interested in looking cool.
Yeah.
It was more important to us that we had the right equipment. So we went down to Sherwood Music, and Bob goes, "We need strap locks for our guitars." Why do we need strap locks? For when we do this, when we put it over our shoulders. Like Cinderella was really
Yeah.
big,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what they were
Yeah.
doing. They had, well, the reason that they could do that, Mike, and the guitar doesn't fall off is they had strap locks. So I bought this stupid guitar strap to match my guitar. It was white and black and gray snakeskin looking print. Stupid. Like this is my priority, was finding the right
Yeah.
guitar strap
Yeah.
with strap locks. And of course, another thing that our guitars needed to have was whammy bars. So, that was a prerequisite for the 2 guitars that we chose. We had to have a whammy bar. That was important. And then we just sat there going like, okay, so how do you do a hammer on? Like we weren't interested in playing. Um, but we did take our we took something seriously. I bought an amp off Gary Mertz, my guitar teacher. I bought a beautiful amp. It was a huge tube amp, and it came with a reverb pedal. It was gorgeous. I have no idea. I sold it, and I wish I had. Well, I don't play guitar really, so I
Yeah.
guess it's a waste of space. But it was a beautiful amp. Man, that thing used to take forever to warm up too.
Oh,
Um, Bob Shipper took a Iron Maiden Power Slave back patch from his jean jacket and sewed it onto the front of his amp, forever muffling the sound of that amp, but at least
yeah.
it looked cool having the Power Slave pyramid on the front of his
Yes.
amp. Like, we are so stupid,
Yeah.
Dan.
Well,
Like, these are things that don't matter at all, but that just shows you the level that we cared about actually.
I
We
was the
just wanted
same
to be
way.
the rock star, right? We
I
didn't
was
want
the
to be
same way.
musicians. And we would argue about, which one of us is going to be the lead singer. So, it had to be a Paul and Gene situation, but we would
Yeah.
always argue about who got to sing what songs. What else did we argue? Oh, the name of the band. Ultimately, we settled on Paragon. Bob says, because it means we're the best. Okay, Paragon it was. I made a list. Dan, I swear to God, hand on Bible, I made a list of my entire discography that I was planning to release between that time and the year, I think about 2020 was when I planned my retirement. And I remember it's like original cassette demo, independent first album, get signed to major, do three live album, couple more
Wow.
greatest hits, couple more, another live album. Then we have like our big concept album. And I had the whole career planned. And then after the concept album, we have a decline in sales and we could do an album called like Back to the Garage or shit like that. Swear to God, I'm not making any of this up. And here's the thing is I wrote this list out in 1991. Edward Van Halen had just had a son named Wolfgang Van Halen. And
Hmm.
on the later albums that were taking place in the 2010s, I put down as the producer Wolfgang Van Halen. I
Oh,
swear to God, I wrote that down in 1991. And now look at him.
yeah, I know.
Now look at him. But we were dreamers. And this is all we're talking about here because like I said, I never put out an album like you. I just dreamed. And I think that's fine.
Oh,
That's
that's
fine. To this day, I love talking about music and dreaming about music. And my wife and I will drive on these long road trips and we'll be playing the air guitar. And that's all I can do. And I feel the music in my heart when I do it. But that is not the end of the air guitar story,
yeah.
as you shall see.
All right. I mean, just to make it clear, I'm 53. Not until 10 years ago did I do that band there. So, um, okay, yeah, those are like 10 years ago there. Okay, so now I did the air band, whatever. Then I moved to Ottawa in 84, and that was a musical change for me. Okay, it was not the same type of music or tastes that were happening. And now I was starting to see real bands playing uh, live, like high school or whatnot. There, stuff like that. There, I was in high school when I moved here, so I was starting to see these. So I don't know how to. The wanting to be in a band was still there for me. Okay, but not until we saw a couple of people, friends of ours in school. Oh, we're playing a gig. So I'm like, oh, that was actually pretty cool. Like, just to give you an example, remember I told you that there is no English songs were not really permitted because we're a French school. So there was this band who was playing during um, the lunch hour. And they said, well, either you play French songs or if you're having English songs, there'll be no words. Did you ever hear War Pigs instrumental? It's not
I
the
have. I have heard an instrumental.
it's da da, and I'm like, okay. But anyway, so then I also took the piano as a kid. I was a little bit like you, where I want to learn Jump, by Van Halen. I don't want to know this Beethoven, but I wish people, if there's people out there watching, and you want your kids to take up an instrument or whatever, the important part is, when you're learning scales and all that, tell your kids why you're learning these scales. I was never told the why you're learning scales and why you're learning this. It was all learn your scales. Why? Well, you need to. Like, that's not a reason for me. So anyway, so I started taking piano, and I got pretty good. I got until conservatory 8, I think. So I know my way around a piano. I haven't touched it in a long time, but I was starting to, compose little jingles, on the so we had this friend of ours called Claude. For some reason I made a song about him, and it was like, written on the piano for one thing. So me on the piano with, again, like a ghetto blaster, but taping it live. Well, this would be the equivalent of something going viral in your friends, where my everybody in not I wouldn't say everybody in school, but everybody in our circle of friends, but everybody's like, "What the hell you're singing?" His name was Claude. Da, 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 da. That was the song, and it was so annoyingly catchy that people were singing. He got mad at me for writing that song. So to me, that was like, all right, I've actually written this song. So that was cool. So then I started to work at a Loeb, and I met this guy. He says, "Oh, I am a drummer, blah blah, and I play in a band." I'm like, "So am I." All I had was that little. So I'm like, "All right, so let's exchange cassettes. I've taped my things. I'll tape. He's taped his band live, and this is the oh my god moment where I was like, I am not in a league with these guys right now. So I gave him that little song that I played on the piano. He gave me a jam session of his band, and I was at home. I listened to it. These guys are playing real instruments. Like you had a bass player, a guitar player, a drummer, and a singer. Like House of the Rising Sun, Johnny Be Good by it was that Stevie Ray Vaughan era, the Eagles. But I was like, oh my God, this is actually that was my first taste of hearing a real band by a real person I know, not someone that I knew in high school, but this guy was my friend at work. So this was the first time I was actually hearing a real band. I'm like, oh my God. And then I was like, oh my God, what the hell did I just give him to? He's giving me this whole friggin' band and it sounds awesome. I'm singing this stupid song on the piano, which is like equivalent of something you would give a 3-year-old. Sorry, someone that's in grade 3, not a 3, well, maybe 3-year-old too. But I was, to me, it was like, is that what you say? You got a big dose of humble pie? I was like, okay, I need to step up my game. So that was a really big marker. So I'm like, okay, we got to step up our game. So now we're in late high school, so we're deciding, let's form a band. So my friend, he's like, all right, I'm gonna buy a guitar. So and he remember you said the same guitar as Hendrix played, or I forget the other guy you said there.
Helix.
Helix. There you go. Yeah, my friend got a 100 or maybe a $200 Ibanez guitar, and he's like, "Oh, this is the same guitar Steve Vai plays." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, he's playing a $200 guitar, but whatever." So he got a guitar. My other friend got another guitar. It was a Charvel. I remember that. My friend got a drum set. Like he had played drums in his life. Got a double bass. Like I couldn't believe the drum set he got. Um, I was the one with the least worst voice, so I said I'll sing, and we had a bass player at the time. Bass players, for some reason, we had a hard time getting. So after 2 failed bass players, I said, F it, I'm going to learn how to play the bass. That's what started it all. So we went and recorded, again, with a ghetto blaster. So we had a guitar, 2 guitarists, a bass player, and a drummer. So we recorded Heaven's on Fire by Kiss. It's a very, very easy song to play. Okay. But the thing is, we didn't really know how stuff worked. And I mean, I can sing pretty high. I'm no Paul Stanley high, but well, yes and no. I'm not going to demonstrate it right now, but I was very shy at the time. So what happened was like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. So my friend was the rhythm guitarist, so he played the whole song with the drums and the bass. Then this other friend of mine, I'll be the lead guitarist. So he's just sitting there doing nothing until comes the solo. And then he goes and plays a solo, which was a stupid solo. And then he stops, as opposed to doubling, let's say, having him something to do, doubling the rhythm. No, we can't do that. You have to get one guy do anyway. So we recorded that. We were like super proud. It's like, all right, now let's go to so and so's place. We got our cassette with our Heavens on Fire instrumental. So we had that playing on one ghetto blaster, and on the other one, we were all, I still remember, we were all on our stomachs uh, leaning on on our stomachs on my friend's living room floor. We had the tape recorder in front of us, and you can hear me talk now. I talking very low, but then I didn't understand about vocals. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to be the one singing. So I tried to mimic Paul Stanley, but it was hard at at that age. Um, so we recorded the whole vocals in falsetto. So when I say "Feel my heat taking you," I was like that, and I was like, but at the time we were listening, and we somehow got everybody involved. Like we were singing the chorus, but we were all singing falsetto because we couldn't match Paul Stanley's high pitched voice. Anyway, we recorded it. I don't know where the hell that tape is, and if I never hear it again, that's okay. But I still remember just doing doing things our way, but they were all wrong. Like, that's not how you record that. And a lot of learning experiences from that thing there. But yeah, doing it falsetto, that was the first and last time I've ever recorded my voice. But then I got better. Like, I started singing. When I got my bass, I started singing, more my style there. So anyway, that's my little first experience with music. And then I'm gonna save my last one for anyway. We'll get to that there. So there you go.
Okay, well, I may as well do my the big one.
Okay.
This is the culmination of the air bands and buying our own guitars and not being able to play them. This I dug up today. This would go back to 1988 that we wrote this. This is a script. This is a script for a music video. Bob Shipper and I had joined Film Club, and we had access to an editing suite for only 2 weeks, but we had access to an editing suite. So starting in fall of 1988, we began shooting our music video that we had been planning since summer. We probably wrote this, I would say, summer of '88. Now, there was a band that was pretty big in '88 called Poison.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. I'm sure you can guess what the song is based on this script. Do you have Zare's grocery stores out there in Ottawa? They're kind of like a Sobeys.
Zehrs.
Yeah, yeah.
I've heard it. I don't think.
Okay. Well, Bob Shipper worked there. He worked in the bakery. So setting Zare's bakery. Shot of Bob playing air guitar on his broom instead of sweeping. Then there's a shot of the door, and then Gary walks in, the manager. Gary says to Bob after walking over to him, "Hey, you! I thought I was paying you to clean the equipment instead of playing with it. One more time and you're out of here. Got it?" Gary leaves the bakery. Rob drops the broom. Rob walks over to the door. He kicks the door open, and Mike's standing outside with a guitar in each hand. So you can see where this is going. And this is exactly what we filmed. It's exactly what we filmed on this videotape
Oh
right here.
my.
You see what that says?
Guns N'
Nothing but
Roses.
a good, well, above that, nothing but a good time is
Okay,
what
yeah,
that stands for.
that's what I was thinking. I remember the guy cleaning the dishes.
Yeah, you got it. You got it right from the beginning. We ripped off the same basic idea, but then we diverted from script because, well, I'll explain. First, I had to get the tape though. I had to get the album so we could mime to something. We could lip sync to it to
Yeah,
something. So I conned my dad out of $10 by telling him I needed "Open Up and Say Ah" by Poison for a school project, which was not a lie. It
yeah.
was not a lie.
Hmm.
We needed a drummer, and you're talking about how it's hard to find bass players. Well, it's also hard to find drummers, especially ones that we actually wanted to work with. And there was this guy in film class named Dave Kidd, and he was a really, really weird guy. I don't care if he sees this video or not. Dave, you were a weird guy. I think you could acknowledge that. He disappeared for most of grade 13. We used to speculate on whether he was alive or dead. So, Dave, just so you know, you were a weird guy. But he was the only one willing to play drums for our video. And we didn't have drumsticks. So I gave him a pair of plastic chopsticks that I got from a grade 10 field trip to
Wow.
Kensington Market in Toronto. We didn't have a drum kit. So we sat him down on top of a big boulder on his front yard. And we said, "This is the drum kit. We're going to pretend this is the drum kit." So he's hitting the boulder with the chopsticks. It's the best we could do. We knew this really weird These are friends of convenience here. We knew this really weird older guy. No, sorry, he was a younger guy, but he was a big guy named John Huseman. And John, I don't care if you see this video. You were scary in high school. Trust me. I have stories. I was considering whether I was going to tell the story of John Huseman as part of this, but no, I'm not going to. He was our cameraman. He owned a camera, so friend of convenience.
Yeah.
We spent from fall of '88 to spring of '89 working on this video, filming in bits and pieces. So we filmed one segment in the on the school stage, and we might have run through the song twice with us
Okay.
miming the song on our real guitars now. We I got to be the lead singer. I got to be Brent Michaels, but I also was rhythm guitar.
Okay.
We did it as a trio with two guitar players and a drummer because it's hard to find bass players. um, but it didn't matter. This was for something called the Charlie Awards, which was a local film awards thing for high schools. We were going to enter this video into the Charlie Awards, and we were going to win because we were doing a music video. We were doing something that required audio synchronization, which none of the other videos needed. They would just put footage together. We were doing something serious. So our master take that we used to edit around turned out to be the shot of us in Dave's front yard with the boulder and the chopsticks. Bob was driving, I want to say a Dodge Laser at that time. So we put the jammed the tape into the tape deck, cranked it up, and that was our master take that we edited everything to. More on that later. Analog is a bitch. Okay. We're really proud of what we did. We collected video footage from all over town. There's shots of Bob standing on top of his guitar, standing on top of his car playing guitar. There's shots of us in a local park called Rockaway Gardens, standing on these fountains. Dan, I would love it if you could maybe even take a look at the video yourself and give me a reaction to it because it's on YouTube.
Oh, is it?
It's on YouTube. We got our
Hey,
favorite English teacher, Mr. Payette, to play the guy at the bakery. And we used the school cafeteria for we copied. It was he was sweeping up in a restaurant. And we're really proud of it, but we ran into problems during those critical 2 weeks that we had to edit it. The editing suite was being circulated from high school to high school on the circuit. Each school got it for 2 weeks.
yeah.
We started running into a problem about 3/4 of the way through the video, and we didn't know why. We kept trying to get around it. And then the teacher, we asked her for help. And she says, "What is your cassette being played on in this video?" And Bob says, "Car tape deck." And she goes, there's your problem. The school tape deck is not going to be synchronized with a car tape deck.
Mm.
Car tape deck was just a tad faster. They generally were.
Oh.
The school tape deck, you know how it is. Like no two tape decks ran at the
No,
same
I know
speed.
now that you
And
mentioned it.
that's why it happened at 3/4 of the way through the video. That was when the sync was starting to become noticeable. It was getting worse and worse and worse second by second, and then we were fucked. Sorry.
All
Don't know
right.
if I'm allowed to swear on your channel.
Yeah.
Then we were screwed, and we were out of time. There was no way to fix it. And the end of the video was out of sync. And that's why we didn't win. There
Wow.
was nothing we could have done with the amount of time we had. We would have needed to resync everything to a new track, a new audio track coming from our. Anyway, I'm still really proud of the video. It is on YouTube. Nothing but a good time. I will send you a link.
Yeah,
Maybe
send
we
me
can
the link,
even
man. I want to
show
see
some
that.
clips from it here. But
Yeah.
it was really important for us to look cool, and we're wearing sunglasses and all this stuff, and we did the best with what we could.
Yeah.
And I'm always tempted to go back and today just put it in a digital editing suite and resync it to the track. I'm always tempted, but
Well,
why tamper?
exactly. It's a stamp in time. And look, you're telling a story regarding that stamp in time as opposed to a possible future resynced one. So,
That's right. And that would kind of be the peak of Bob Shipper and I of our friendship and our musical endeavors because he like I said, he was 2 years older than me, and by the time the Charlie Awards came around, he was graduating high school.
okay.
So the very last birthday card I have from Bob Shipper. On your birthday, remember, sex and booze and rock and roll can ruin you, especially if you don't get any. So we're a little bit older at this point.
But still,
And he'd moved on. He went to college. He's an architect. No.
Yeah.
He's an architect, and I'm a music blogger and YouTuber.
You still talk with him or?
I sent him an email last week, and I hope he got it.
Okay.
We do talk every once in a while, but we haven't seen each other since before the pandemic.
Okay.
Just because of the way things went, and he's got
Yeah.
4 kids. We always joked around that his biggest punishment in life would be to have kids just like him because he was a rambunctious kid, but he kept us active and he kept us creative. And I hope that comes across in this video because really at the end of the day, we were having good, clean fun. In fact, that
Yes.
was one of the songs that I wrote. It was called Good, Clean Fun. I wrote a song for our band called Good, Clean Fun.
Nice.
And I wrote a lot of other ones too. There was one called, get this, Dad, 1991. What was going on? The Gulf War. I wrote a song called Unleashed in the Middle East. There's an actual point in the lyrics where it says, throw in some sections like on Seventh Son from a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden. And Dan, that's about all I have for you is about as
All
far
right.
as me wanting to be a rock star. And yeah, I'll send you the link to that video.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to end it with guys, what not to do. Okay? So, I I'll admit I can be a pretty cocky guy, very comfortable or funny behind a keyboard, you know? So, I think it was around 2004, 2003, 4-ish. This is the time I was working at Bell, and for some reason, I saw this website where Quiet Riot was looking for a bass player, and they had a link, please, serious inquiries only, send your thing here. So I was like, oh, and to me, again, when I say I was very cocky at that time. I was making fun of everybody and anybody. I'm like, Quiet Riot. What the hell are they doing now? Like, I think it was the era when they were getting that singer that's on a documentary, and I think you know him or that guy?
I am Facebook friends with Mark Huff, who when
Yeah,
they reunited after a certain period of time after Kevin died, Mark Huff was their
yeah,
guy.
that.
Yeah.
So it was around that era, I believe, a little bit after that they announced that. So yeah, they were looking for a bass player. So I said, Quite right. Well, that's a friggin' dead band. Watch this, guys. So I went and emailed them. I says, thank you for the offer, but I'm already making enough money here at Bell. Something like really cocky like that. Click send. They replied.
Oh my. Okay, I just need to take a pause here because I just need to absorb what you just did. Okay, so let me get this straight. Quiet Riot's looking for a bass player because they've just reunited. So we got Frankie Banali,
Yeah, yeah.
Mark Huff,
You
and
know what?
you
I think
sent
it
them
was.
an
I think
email.
you know what? I think it was before. I think Kevin DuBrow was still alive. Something in my head tells me this is even worse. I
Kevin
think.
DeBro's
I
alive. It's
think
even
it.
worse.
I think Kevin DuBrow was still. Yeah, Kevin DuBrow was still there because this was 2004, and I saw Kevin DuBrow live much later. Anyway, so yes, this is even worse, which is Frankie Benali, uh, Cavazzo, I guess was there. Maybe I don't know if he was there at the time. I know for sure Benali and Dubrow were there.
Okay,
So they were
yeah,
looking for a bass player.
that would have been probably when Rudy Sarzo left the band for like the third or fourth
Yeah,
time. Then.
exactly. More on that guy later, by the way, okay? Trust me, it gets worse, guys.
Oh,
So I sent them, thank you for the invite, but I already make enough money here at Bell, blah, blah. Like I said, they replied back with a picture, a GIF picture. And it was, oh, hey, Dan, thank you for your your email, whatever, and then the picture was a big finger going like this. So of course I thought it was funny because I'm like, look at this guy's Quiet Riot just told me to F off. So that's thing number one to not do, okay? Then now we're probably later on. I don't know if you remember, but Tracy Guns at one time was in Quiet Riot for like half a minute. Okay.
oh my God. That is what caused my own interaction with Quiet Riots with Regina Banali.
Oh.
was a dispute over whether Tracy Guns was actually in the band or not, and she couldn't provide any evidence to contradict the actual written articles.
It was in
So
a website.
yeah, so it remains on Wikipedia that Tracy Guns remains a 2 day alumni of Quiet Riot. But if
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it was 2 days or 2 years, you were
I
in the band for that period of time, and
yeah,
she
I think it
denies
was
it.
about 2 weeks. So
She says 2 days and one rehearsal.
could be two
And
days.
even so, that's enough.
Yeah. But anyway, it was announced on that website that Tracy Guns was now part of Quiet Riot. And then I'm like, okay, that's an odd move, but whatever. Then a couple days later, or weeks, I forget when it was announced that Tracy Guns had left Quiet Riot. And I go to my friend, I go, the hell was that, man? Like, why the hell would Tracy Guns just go and then leave? Well, and then my friend's answer, and I'll always remember. He goes, "Oh, he probably found out that Dan Chartrand was not the bass player." So he goes, I laughed at that.
Well, yeah, you were in LA Guns, one of the two versions,
Yeah,
I think, right?
exactly.
Or one of the three versions.
And when I said it gets worse before it gets better, my last comment regarding again, Quiet Riot. I don't know what it's. This is just luck of the draw. So we have a friend in common here, Mike and I, which is Mitch Lafont. Okay, he had written on Facebook, I'm going to go interview Rudy Sarzo tomorrow for blah, blah, blah. So, such and such a thing. I, being the brainiac, did not realize, when you write, I'm going to interview, and then you put the at Rudy Sarzo, it'll tag that person. I did not notice that part, okay? That's important to the story. And what I'm about to say, I'm not, like I said, don't judge me for what I'm about to say, but this is what I wrote underneath that comment. I go, "Oh, Mitch, can you please tell him or ask him why the hell does he keep licking his notes before doing this?" I'm like, it looks effing gay. It looked gay then. It looks gay now. I again, and I pressed send. Wrote that. So you know what I'm talking about? His licking about that. Anyway, well, the next day I wake up. I forgot about that. And I noticed Rudy Sarzo has commented on and I, he goes, "First of all, Dan, my, for someone who thinks that I look gay, I just looked at your profile picture. You do not look any better," because I was dressed up as Doctor Who, the David Tennant version. That was my profile picture because I was just coming back from the Comic-Con. It was around that time in Ottawa. So I was, yeah, I didn't look cool. But anyway, he goes, "But whatever." And he let me have it on Facebook. And I was just there on the next day go like, oh my God. So our friend Mitch Lafont suddenly sends me a private message, goes, "Gee, Rudy Sarzo sure ripped you a new one." I'm like, Jesus Christ, yeah. I didn't really notice that he was tagged on it. So that's why he saw it, because he was tagged on the post. And I replied to that tag. But apparently, this part of the interview is not available for um, to hear, apparently, but it was apparently discussed, because apparently they discussed my comment, and goes about the licking. And then he explained to Mitch only about the licking, and at the end he goes, "Yeah, just don't use that part," because he was bashing me apparently into that interview. And at the end he goes, "You know what, Mitch, do what you want." And then after that he was like, "No, don't print that." So out there is an explanation as to why he licks it, but it'll never be aired, because I'm basically he's probably bitching about me too. He was upset about, apparently, this is according to our friend Mitch, he was very upset with what I had said, and in during that interview talking about the licking part. So, kids, just watch out what you write. Like I'm much better now, and this was, I don't know how many, at least 10, if not 15 years ago, maybe around, like it was. But yeah, it's what not to do. Be careful what you write on social media, or it, I mean, I'm sure it's still there, nothing really gets erased off of Facebook, I guess there. So yeah, that is my little how to end and what not to do. Because like I said, so thinking about that, I will probably never have the chance to open for for Quiet Riot if they ever came here. Go, I know you, and of
You're
course,
the finger licking guy.
yeah, the finger licking
You know
guy.
what? Can I end this by just sending some love to Rudy Sarzo because this ties in. You're right about the finger licking thing, but there's one other thing that Rudy Sarzo did that I always thought was cool, and I threw it in. There's one shot of me doing it in the Nothing But a Good Time video. Rudy Sarzo used to play bass like this, and then every once in a while he'd throw in a couple notes where he'd put his hand on the top of the next. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's one shot of me playing. I'm like pretending to play Rudy Sarzo bass because he was a bass
I
hero of
do
mine.
that too, doing the, and then that's very poser-ish. They're
It
going,
is, it is, and I
going
think he
this way.
would probably admit to that. That's just for show. It's not. There's
Oh
nothing
yeah,
musical. He doesn't need to play those notes from the top. There's
I know,
nothing
I
about
know.
the bass, but it's in the Nothing But a Good Time video. There's a shot of Bob Shipper running up this flight of stairs at Rockaway Gardens, and I'm in the background playing my bass with the
Well, I'm
hand on the
looking forward
top
to
of the
seeing
neck.
that there.
There you go.
All right. Well, anything you want to add here?
No, man, I think that this is embarrassing enough.
How to shoot yourself in the foot by oh man. Anyway, yeah, I had to vent that story out one day there, so now
Now
it's
it's out.
the world to hear there. But you know what? It's I mean, you try, you got some missteps, but you know what? At the end, I had a great fun doing those three CDs that you were. I played some many gigs. I went a few towns here and there. Nothing really major. This was all done by ourselves, by the way. There, so
There's the collection, folks.
so I'm on album the purple one and the red one. The blue one is the first one, and I joined midway through the recording, so I'm there for background vocals for 4 songs only.
Gotcha.
But I'm on bass and background vocals on album 2 and 3. So the EP and the full length. There you go.
Awesome.
Anyway, yeah. So all in all, it's I've learned a lot of what to do and what not to do in this business. And like I said, if ever Quiet Riot came over here and they looking for an opening band, I would not even come close to offering myself for that. I was like, because Rudy Sarzo is the only one that's left in that band right now. Of the
That's right. Yeah, Rudy's
so,
the main draw in that band now.
but
And I if I ever interview Rudy Sarzo, I'm gonna ask him what he thinks about troll commenters about licking fingers.
I wonder if he remembers that part. Yeah, but it's just Mitch the next day, just a private message. Rudy really ripped you a new one. I was like, yeah,
Oh shit.
yeah,
Good one,
fun
Dan. Good
times. Yeah.
one.
Anyway, anything you want to add or plug here before we go?
Well, thank you for wearing my shirt. I hope to be on your channel again, and I hope to have you on my channel again. But check out Grab a Stack of Rock. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. We're currently in the middle of a series that will pretty much take us all year called 50 Years of Iron Maiden. And I'm really proud of how that's going. Check it out. We'll be doing it all year long.
Perfect. And hopefully, Spinal Tap 2 will also
Oh,
generate some more content from between you and I there.
yes, yes. When that movie comes out, you and I will definitely be talking again
September, I think. Yeah.
in the fall.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you for this. This is actually a really great pleasure to have you here finally. Sorry for the low tech, but you know what? One day I'll get to where you are. All
Okay,
right.
fine.
Anyway, go check out Mike's channel. Grab a sack of rock. I'm going to put the links of where they find his channel in the description below, and the 2 episodes I've guested on, which were actually very fun there. So
They were great episodes. We
yeah.
took some serious deep dives.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Very proud of those episodes.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for this. And guys, thank you guys for watching, and we shall see you guys next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, you better get a move on. Watch this. That's it. I walk in here one more time, I hear that music playing, you're finished. You got it? I ask you to clean the equipment, not play with it. You're out.